When you think of Princess Diana, you probably picture the people's princess, a tragic fairy tale figure who went from a seemingly ordinary life to marrying the future king of England. But what if I told you that her story and her ancestry is far more complex and fascinating than that? Forget the simple commoner marries a prince narrative. Today, we're digging into the tangled, surprising, and truly global roots of Princess Diana, a story that involves Indian heritage, illegitimate royal lines, and a genetic tapestry that challenges everything you thought you knew about the British monarchy. Let's start with what we know. Diana was born into the Spencer family, a name that carries immense weight in British history. The Spencers are a powerful aristocratic house with a lineage stretching back over 500 years. They weren't just wealthy landowners. They were deeply embedded in the political and social fabric of the nation, operating within the highest echelons of society for centuries. So, from the very beginning, the idea that Diana was a commoner is a bit of a stretch. Her family home, Althorp, is a testament to their long-standing influence, filled with art and history that rivals some royal palaces. The Spencers have always been near the throne, serving monarchs, navigating court intrigue, and marrying into other noble families. Diana grew up surrounded by this legacy. So, while she didn't have a royal title before her marriage, she was born and bred in the world of the British elite. Her family was, in many ways, part of the shadow royalty that has always existed alongside the official monarchy. But the story gets truly astonishing when we look beyond the aristocratic surface and into her genetic code. In 2013, a groundbreaking study by a genetic genealogy firm uncovered a thread in Diana's ancestry that nobody saw coming. By tracing her maternal line, the one passed down directly from mother to daughter, through mitochondrial DNA, researchers made a stunning discovery. They followed the line back through generations, past her mother Frances Shandkid, her grandmother, and so on, until they reached a woman named Eliza Kewark. Who was Eliza Kewark? She was a woman who lived in Western India in the late 18th century. She had a relationship with Theodore Forbes, a Scottish merchant with the East India Company. Eliza was long described in family records as Armenian, which at the time was often a vague term used for people in the region who were of European descent. But her mitochondrial DNA told a different, more specific story. Her specific DNA haplogroup was found to be incredibly rare, matching only a tiny handful of people in a global database. And almost all of them were from South Asia. This wasn't just a hint, it was clear genetic proof. Eliza Kewark was of Indian descent. Think about what this means. Because mitochondrial DNA is passed down from a mother to all her children, this genetic signature was passed from Eliza, down through the generations, all the way to Princess Diana, and through her it was passed to her sons, Prince William, the future King of England, and Prince Harry. So, the direct heirs to the British throne carry a genetic link to India. This fact completely reframes the narrative of a purely European royal lineage. It introduces a layer of diversity that has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. A silent testament to the long and complicated history of the British Empire and its global reach. The blood of India flows, quite literally, in the veins of the future monarchy. But the twists in Diana's family tree don't stop in Asia. Let's swing back to the other side of her family, the Spencer side, and look at her connections to the British throne itself. You see, her marriage to Prince Charles wasn't the first time her family's blood had mingled with royalty. Far from it. In fact, Diana had more royal blood in her veins than people realized, thanks to some very colorful ancestors. Through multiple, complex ancestral lines, Diana was a direct descendant of two English kings, King Charles II and his brother, King James II. Now, here's the juicy part. These connections don't come from legitimate throne-inheriting children. They come from the king's numerous illegitimate offspring. Charles II, famously known as the Mary Monarch, had at least 12 illegitimate children with his various mistresses. Diana descended from two of them, Henry Fitzroy, the first Duke of Grafton, whose mother was the famous courtier Barbara Villiers, and Charles Lennox, the first Duke of Richmond, whose mother was a French noblewoman. Similarly, she was also a descendant of an illegitimate daughter of King James II. So, while Prince Charles descended from the official, legitimate line of the monarchy, Diana descended from the unofficial, off-the-books, royal branches. This makes her story so much more compelling. She wasn't just marrying into royalty. She was bringing a different, forgotten stream of that same royal blood back into the main fold. For centuries, her ancestors had existed on the fringes of the royal family tree, carrying the DNA of kings without the claim to the crown. Her marriage to Charles was, in a way, a genealogical reunion, linking the legitimate and illegitimate lines of the Stuart dynasty. So let's put all of this together. On one hand, you have Diana, a descendant of a woman from India. On the other, she's a descendant of British kings. Her ancestry is a rich tapestry woven from threads of Asian heritage, deep-rooted British aristocracy, and the illegitimate, romantic side streams of the royal house itself. This completely shatters the simplistic image of the English rose. Diana was not just an English rose. She was a global hybrid, a living embodiment of history's complexities. What's fascinating is how this reality contrasts with her public perception. The media and the public loved the Cinderella story, the shy nursery school teacher who won the heart of a prince. It was a narrative that made the monarchy feel more accessible. But the genealogical records tell us she was anything but a commoner. In fact, some genealogists have argued that because of her multiple lines of descent from British nobility and royalty, Diana actually had more traditionally British aristocratic blood than the royal family she married into. Remember, the House of Windsor has strong German roots, with the family name being changed from Saxe-Coburg and Gotha during World War I. Diana, through the Spencers and their connections, represented a deep, centuries-old English aristocratic lineage. Of course, none of this gave her any claim to the throne. The connections to Charles II and James II were through illegitimate children, who were historically excluded from the line of succession. These bloodlines carried status and wealth, but they were firmly outside the bounds of legitimate royal power. The Indian heritage, while genetically real, was socially and historically erased over the generations. But that's what makes it so powerful. Diana's heritage is a story about what gets remembered and what gets forgotten, what is considered legitimate and what is not. It reveals that the neat, clean lines of royal succession we see in textbooks are a sanitized version of a much messier, more human reality. Royal blood isn't a pure, unbroken stream. It's a river fed by countless tributaries from different countries, different social classes, and different sides of the royal bedchamber. In the end, Diana's legacy is so much more than just emotional or symbolic. It's genetic. It's ancestral. It connects continents and centuries in ways that are still surprising us today. Her story teaches us that identity, even for the most famous people on Earth, is never simple. It's a mosaic of hidden histories and unexpected connections. And perhaps that the real fairy tale twist, that royalty isn't about purity or fairy tale simplicity. It's about a complex, diverse, and deeply human story that is far more meaningful than any crown could ever represent. Thanks for watching. If you found this deep dive into history and genetics as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more hidden stories behind the figures you thought you knew. See you next time.